Yes, all runways are closed. Nobody's landing. No one's moving at all. It was probably out in the middle of the river. I just saw a fireball and then it was just gone.
We're learning more about the deadly plane crash in Washington, D.C. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Friday, January 31st. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. On Wednesday night, a passenger plane and an Army helicopter collided near Reagan National Airport. 67 people were killed. There were no survivors. Investigators have recovered a cockpit voice recorder and a flight data recorder from the Potomac River, where the aircraft went down. And now they are working to determine how this tragedy could have happened. A government report, which was described to the Washington Post, said that the airport's air traffic control tower was understaffed on the evening of the crash. 2 people were handling the jobs of 4, alongside other colleagues inside the control tower. You heard the control tower reacting to the crash at the top of the show. The Union for Air Traffic Controllers has warned in recent years that a thinly stretched workforce poses a safety risk. The victims of the crash include service members, children, and members of the competitive figure skating community. 10-year-old Alexis Winch lost her coach in the crash. She spoke to a Post reporter at a Northern Virginia skating rink yesterday.
One of them, he really wanted to go to the Olympics, and then he was really excited, but now he can't go. I look after those people, and they were my inspiration.
President Donald Trump spoke about the crash at a news conference yesterday. That brings us to our second story. President Trump baselessly blamed a diversity program for the D.C. plane crash. That's number 2. First responders were still recovering bodies from the Potomac River yesterday when Trump started assigning blame. Without evidence, he pointed his finger at his predecessors, Democrats, and diversity initiatives. New York Times reporter David Sanger asked Trump about his speculation.
That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level.
Trump's politically motivated comments came within 5 minutes of asking for a moment of silence for the victims. He was criticized by Republicans and Democrats, many of whom accused him of politicizing a tragedy. What's more, his comments overlooked the facts of the situation. Trump complained that the FAA hired air traffic controllers with a range of disabilities that he listed at the news conference. But that program was launched in 2019, during Trump's first term. And to be clear, there is no evidence that any diversity programs contributed to the crash. Our fact-checkers have been hard at work weighing up Trump's comments. You can get a link to their full findings in today's newsletter. That's in our show notes. Number 3. A trio of high-profile confirmation hearings took place yesterday. Trump's pick to be Director of National Intelligence is Tulsi Gabbard. Kash Patel is his choice for FBI Director. Both of their Senate confirmation hearings were yesterday. And Health Secretary pick Robert F. Kennedy Jr. testified for the second consecutive day. Gabbard is a former Democratic congresswoman from Hawaii. She was grilled on her past sympathetic comments toward authoritarian leaders and her past skepticism of government surveillance. Patel is a former Trump national security aide. He was questioned about his harsh past rhetoric. In 2023, for example, he published a list of members of the so-called deep state and has pushed for prosecutions of several of them. Finally, RFK Jr. faced questions about his many false claims and baseless theories about vaccines. Kennedy repeatedly contradicted his past statements. For more, find a full list of takeaways from a busy day in the Senate in today's newsletter. Mark Zuckerberg said Meta remains committed to diversity. That's our fourth story. The Meta CEO spoke to workers at a town hall meeting on Wednesday. The Post got a recording of the event. Zuckerberg told his liberal-leaning workforce that 2025 would be a, quote, big year for resetting our relationship with governments around the world. But he said Meta would not forsake its values, and that he still believes that diversity is a strength. The town hall followed major policy shifts at the social media giant, which owns Facebook and Instagram. Zuckerberg recently scrapped Meta's diversity initiatives, reversed several restrictions on hate speech, and ended the company's fact-checking program. His workers have been complaining about it on internal message boards. They say the company is caving to political pressures as Trump returns to the White House. Number 5. Uganda announced a new outbreak of Ebola. An official in the East African nation said yesterday that a 32-year-old nurse had died from the virus. The patient had experienced fever and bleeding. That's common in severe cases of Ebola. The man died in Kampala, the country's capital, and he had come into close contact with 44 people. Officials said those people are being traced. Uganda's last Ebola outbreak was in 2022. It had 164 cases and 55 confirmed deaths from the virus. Ebola is spread through direct contact with body fluids of infected people. In past outbreaks, it has reached fatality rates of 90%. But now there are treatments and an effective vaccine. The FDA approved a new non-opioid painkiller. That's number 6. The new drug is called Jornavix. Its active ingredient is suzetrigine. Yesterday, it became the first novel pain drug to win government authorization in more than 20 years. Its maker, Vertex Pharmaceuticals, says it's not addictive. The drug works by intercepting pain signals before they reach the spinal cord, rather than acting directly on the brain. The drug works by intercepting pain signals before they reach the spinal cord, rather than acting directly on the brain. It faces some hurdles in winning over doctors, hospitals, and insurance companies. It's a brand-name drug competing with cheap generic opioids that remain among the most effective painkillers on the market. But it could become an important tool to fight the deadly epidemic of opioid addiction. Number 7 will hopefully send you into your Friday with a warm and fuzzy feeling. A lost dog was reunited with his owner after nearly 8 years. Damien is a miniature Doberman Pinscher. For those who have trouble picturing types of dogs, he's just a little guy who looks kind of like a sausage dog or a chihuahua. Damien slipped out of his collar and disappeared in May 2017. His owner, Paul Gilbo, had been taking him on a walk during a pit stop in Oklahoma City in the middle of a cross-country move. Paul searched for Damien for a week, but eventually feared that he must have been killed by a car or a mountain lion. This made him very sad. But then, earlier this month, he got a call from a mysterious number. Damien had been found in Oklahoma City all these years later. A man had taken him in. He was thin and a little scraggly, but in pretty good health. Paul drove 14 hours to get him. Here's the moment they were reunited.
Damien. Come here, sweetheart.
Hi, Damien.
Damien.
It's been 8 years.
Oh my goodness, right? Give him the time.
Yeah.
Damien.
This happy reunion would not have been possible without the help of Damien's microchip. So, dear listeners, don't forget to get one for your pet. That's the show for this week. The assistant producer of The 7 is Taylor White. The staff writers are Jamie Ross and me. John Taylor is our editor. Additional editing by Christina Quinn. Copy editing is by Melissa No and Thomas Haliba. Mixing and sound design is by Jim Briggs and Justin Garish. Our theme music is by Edith Mudge. Renita Jablonski is our director of audio. I'm Hannah Jewell. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend. I'll meet you back here on Monday.